We have another Beyond the Podium here in the Celebrity Theatre right here on board the Eclipse. Now, there's one of two Beyond the Podium speakers today. Later on in Celebrity Central, which is the venue just outside there to the left, there's going to be a talk at 2 o'clock by Alan, and he's going to be talking to you about the Hermitage and all the treasures about that in there. Now, however, for part 2 of some Russian history, please welcome back to the stage, it's Vivian, everybody!
That better? Good. Good morning, good afternoon everybody. Obviously the weather's terrible outside after yesterday. There's a drastic change in weather. Okay, for the people that were here yesterday, I'm not going to run through the whole history again. I'm going to take you more into the story of each particular place, what you can actually find in there, what you can look for that was still left over from the olden days, shall we say. It's cultural treasure side. So we will start. St. Petersburg is 300 years old, and it's crammed with historical, cultural associations, and it has a very fine air of mystery. In 1789, Maria Narishkina, born Princess Maria, she was a Polish noble, and for 13 years she was the mistress of Tsar Alexander I. She purchased this palace, the Shub Palace. Her husband, Dmitry Leonovich Narishkin, I wish they had English names, it'd be a lot easier, filled it with spectacular art, marble sculptures, as well as antiquities including gems, coins, and weapons from all around the world. The palace became the centre of St. Petersburg high society. It had a fantastic grand ballroom, and it was also known as the White Column Hall. It played host to up to 1,000 people at a time, and the most famous ball that was held there was in April 1834 to celebrate the 16th birthday of the future Emperor of Russia, Alexander Nikolaevich. The world's second largest collection of Fabergé eggs has just gone on display at this museum. As you know the story of Fabergé, you saw the lecture the other day, all these beautiful eggs. When I do my last lecture, called X Marks the Spot, there are 8 Fabergé eggs that went missing. They have never been found to this day, and I will tell you the story of those. We know Fabergé created these fantastic eggs for Tsar Alexander III and his son Nicholas II. The new museum, bearing the name of the jewellers, names 9 imperial eggs, and there's 9 actually stored, these fantastic eggs are stored in this palace. Once you're inside, you enter into the Blue Hall. There's a grand staircase beneath this egg-shaped dome. There are another 14 Fabergé eggs, plus all sorts of other little ornaments and bits and pieces that you will see. The actual building is full of gold. It's gold foil and gilded, beautiful and original paintings of the old artists. This is one of the display cases in the Gold Hall. This originally was the palace dining room, but the belt buckles, all different kinds of Fabergé belt buckles. The small presents and little bits and pieces, snuff boxes, cigarette cases, picture frames, all made by Fabergé for the Imperial Russian family. These ladies' belt buckles, some of them are enamelled and really delicate detail. And at this particular time, these belt buckles meant that people at that time in Russia could actually afford to own one of these belt buckles by Fabergé. But when Peter the Great reclaimed the lands, he decided to build this fort, as I mentioned yesterday, Peter and Paul Fortress, to protect the area from possible attack by the Swedish Army and the Navy. It was founded on a very small island on May the 27th, 1703, and that day became the birthday of the city of St. Petersburg. The Swedes were defeated even before the fortress was completed. So you will see the Peter and Paul fortress. It's a very important part of St. Petersburg. From 1721 onwards, the fortress housed part of the city's garrison, and it was rather notoriously served as a high security political jail as well. And amongst the first inmates was Peter's own rebellious son Alexei. Later, the list of famous residents in this prison included Gorky, Trotsky, and Lenin's older brother Alexander. And parts of this former jail are now open for the public. These people that are on the two-day tour, the two-day package, may actually get the chance to go in and see the prison. In the middle of the fortress stands the Peter and Paul Cathedral. These pictures are in when it was the winter time, as you can see they're all covered in snow. This is the burial place of all the great Russian emperors and empresses, from Peter the Great to Alexander III. The cathedral was the first church to be built in the city, and it was built of stone. It was built between 1712 to 1733, and its design is unusual for a Russian Orthodox church. Again, we have the European influence from Peter the Great when he went on his tours around outside Europe. On top of this cathedral is this golden angel holding a cross. And you can see this, it's the most prominent symbol in the city of St. Petersburg. It stands at 404 feet tall, and it's the highest building in the city. The body of the column is made of a single monolith of red granite. It stands 83 feet high, and it's about 11 feet 5 inches in diameter. And you can imagine, it's like I said yesterday, the ancient Egyptians, how did they build the pyramids? They didn't have cranes, they didn't have drills, it was all purely done by hand and pulleys and ropes. So it is an incredible feat of engineering how they actually got this column upright. It weighs 600 tons, and as I said, it was erected in just under 2 hours without the aid of modern cranes and engineering machines. Other buildings that are included around about the fortress is the History Museum and the Royal Mint, and it's the only place in Russia where coins and medals are minted. I showed you yesterday the cabin of Peter the Great. It's made of wood, but he wanted it to look like brick, but he couldn't afford bricks at that time. So what he did, he had the walls painted to look like bricks. This is where he lived. You can go in, you can see some of his belongings are still there. It's only 60 square metres in size, and it's a traditional Russian house and a bit of Dutch home and a bit of European. It has elaborate windows, a very high roof, and it's covered with wooden tiles. So if you get a chance, this is worth a visit. He lived in this house for 5 years, and as I say, his bedroom is still filled with some of his actual belongings. His dining room still has the china that he would have used to eat his meals and things like this. But he wanted all the houses in the city to be built of stone, the way it was done outside in Europe, but he couldn't afford it. So this is why he ordered that all the walls painted to make it look like it had been built of bricks. Across the river from the Peter and Paul fortress, the historical summer garden. The gardens around here are beautiful. Behind this beautiful wrought iron fence, there's a very old park that's witnessed some of the most spectacular moments in time of St. Petersburg early history. Again, impressed by the royal parks Peter had seen in Europe, he wanted something similar built in his newly built Venice of the North. In this park, everything was created according to the latest fashion. The trees and bushes were trimmed in the most elaborate way. The alleys were decorated with marble statues and fountains. He used to organise regular receptions and balls in the gardens, and his assembly, which involved dancing, drinking and impressive firework displays. He commissioned the city's first and foremost architect to design this, and he was an Italian. He wanted to build a small palace in the park as well, but the palace had no heating, and it was really only intended for summer use. Hence its name, the Summer Palace, as opposed to the Winter Palace. The Winter Palace was built on the same embankment just further down. But this is a small two-storied yellow building. 7 rooms on each floor. After the World War II, it had got quite badly damaged, but it has since been restored in the way it would have originally looked. You can walk along here and you can see the gilded gates, these magnificent urns on top of these columns. And every year, a pair of white swans return to the pond. But even though the park is located in the middle of a bustling city, if you go in there, you actually do find peace and quiet, and it's very serene. Very early in the history of St. Petersburg, it's not a very clear picture, these televisions are better. The Stroka spit of the Valeski Island, the largest island in the Neva Delta, was intended to become the heart of downtown St. Petersburg. And some of the buildings you will see, the Customs House, still remind us today of Tsar Peter's original intentions for St. Petersburg. The Admiralty Building, the Customs House, the Town Council. This is one of the most magnificent you'll see as you go through. This is the architecture of the early 19th century. This is the spirit of Valeski Island. And this is part of the Winter Palace. The early 19th century, you can see, this is the old Stock Exchange building here now. The colonnaded building. And this became its focal point at that particular time. It was flanked by these 2 rostral columns that you can see on either side. When you do a canal journey, you actually go past all these buildings and you will see these in more detail. The Stock Exchange was designed by a French architect, and it was built between 1805 and 1810. And again, it was inspired by Alexander Peter made him Duke. He had this house built. It was bigger and better than any that Peter the Great had built. And it's now known as the Kronstadt. Absolutely magnificent. Being the Governor General, he was allowed to commission this large palace. He lived there till 1727. It was the most luxurious house that had been built so far. As I say, far superior to the summer house of Peter the Great. And again, it was chosen to host balls, receptions, all the dignitaries, big summer parties, galas, everything would happen here. And after Peter the Great died in 1725, Mishenkov did his best to ensure that Peter's wife, Catherine I, would rule, and he ruled partly with her. But in 1727, just before his daughter's marriage to the heirs of the throne, the son of Peter and Catherine, he was accused of treason and stealing government money, and he was exiled with his whole family to Siberia. Then, the palace became a military school, and in 1967 it was finally given to the Hermitage, and it's now been restored. Its 18th century interior is being restored, and it houses a collection of Russian cultural artifacts from the early 18th century. Many visitors now know it as the Hermitage. The green and white 3-storey palace is Baroque architecture. It boasts 1,786 doors, 1,945 windows, imagine trying to clean them, and 1,057 elegant and lavishly decorated halls and rooms, many of which are open to the public, so you will see a lot of these as you go. This originally was the Winter Palace, and it was the main residence of the Russian Tsars, and it's located on the banks of the Neva River. And this is perhaps one of the most impressive attractions. It's this wonderful, it looks like icing, you could just put into it like icing of a cake. This is one of the interior rooms, and it was built between 1754 and 1762 for the Empress Elizabeth, the daughter of Prince Henry. But as I said yesterday, she died before the completion, and only Catherine the Great and her successors were able to enjoy the sumptuous interior of Elizabeth's home. This is the